I didn't mean to hurt you. You have to believe me, I didn't enjoy it at all. The girls had screamed when the masked man grabbed Eva and held a knife to her throat. Karina had panicked. Both she and Tara had screamed, while Eva whimpered behind the knife. Then Karina had kicked him. She had no idea where her strength and courage had come from, but she had lifted her Manolo Blahnik and placed a kick right where it hurt the most. And the guy had bent forward in pain. That was when they began to run. He had reached out and grabbed for Tara, but she had managed to get loose from his grip, screaming helplessly. It was one of the last things Karina saw before she lost track of the others. At what point they got split up, she didn't even know. She just knew they had run, and, in the beginning, she had thought the others were right behind her. But as she ran onto the golf course, she realized she couldn't see them or hear them anywhere. Now, as she stared into the darkness, she wondered if she had, after all, managed to escape her pursuer. Had he given up? Sweat ran down her back, and her blonde hair felt soaked. Her knees were still shaking while she tried to figure out what to do next. She couldn't stay there. If he was still out there, he'd find her. A movement in the bushes made her gasp. A shadow ran across the grass in the moonlight, holding up her dress in the same manner Karina had earlier. Tara! Karina stepped out from her hiding place and wondered if she should yell her name. But as she opened her mouth to speak, a shadow stepped out from behind a tree and grabbed Tara. He swung her, screaming in the air, then slammed his fist into her face. Karina watched while gasping for air as Tara fell to the ground and she couldn't even hear her scream anymore. Karina felt her bones tremble, and she knew she should run. Every part of her screamed for her legs to move, to get her away from there. Yet they didn't. It was like they were paralyzed. Was Tara still alive? She watched as the man bent over the motionless Tara for a few seconds before he lifted his head, and she felt his eyes on her. She couldn't tell if he was actually looking at her or not, but she felt those evil eyes like knives on her skin. Swiftly, he rose to his feet and bolted toward her. She immediately knew she couldn't outrun him. Yet she tried. She turned around and set off, but just as in her many nightmares, it was like she barely moved forward at all. Hands reached for her ponytail, and she was pulled forcefully back and into his arms. When she felt his hand on her neck and smelled his warm breath on her skin, she closed her eyes and prayed that she would feel no pain. Chapter 1. 2 weeks later. Great news! I found her! My eyes grew wide. They stared at the woman in front of me, behind the cluttered desk. Her name was Rhonda, and she was a private eye that I had hired to track down my long-lost sister. Sydney was kidnapped from a Walmart when I was only 5 years old, and she was 7. I'd recently learned that she might still be alive, since it was our mutual biological father who had taken her, and it was believed they had left the country back then. It had taken me a few weeks to gather the courage to start the investigation and hire someone to do it for me. Rhonda had been at it for 6 months, searching for both my dad and my sister. So far, I had barely heard from her in all those months, and I assumed that was because she couldn't find anything. Her words and excited bright eyes, staring at me from behind the deeply furrowed face, surprised me. Really? Rhonda nodded. She grabbed a file from the pile next to her and placed it in front of me. She pushed it closer, and I felt my heart begin to pound. I wasn't sure how to react to any of this. Take a look for yourself. I could hardly breathe. I stared at the file, my fingers unable to stop shaking. I bit my lip, then looked up at Rhonda. And you're sure it's her? Rhonda nodded. It was an easy case, this one, but with a little help from a colleague in Europe, I traced your father to London. And Sydney? Rhonda cleared her throat. He changed her name. She became...